Hi, greetings from Group 1. So, the topic that is assigned to us is the concept of self. So, let's start. Lesson number 1, concept related to the self. Lesson number 2, discrepancy in self concept. Lesson number 3, self esteem. Lesson number 4, self actualization. So, first, let us define what is self concept. Self concept refers to how people see or describe themselves. Thus, according to Platnik and Kayamchan in the year 2014, people with positive self concept tend to act, feel, and think constructively and optimistically. Hence, if a person is labeled as having a positive self concept, it means that his or her prevailing behavior and general outlook of himself or herself are on the positive side. Carl Rogers, a psychologist, was the proponent of the self theory. This theory is regarded as humanistic and is a move towards recognizing human potential for psychological growth. The self is made up of many self-perceptions, abilities, and personality characters that are organized and consistent with one another. Now, let us move on the types of selves. There are two kinds of selves, the real self and the ideal self. The real self is the image or picture of the self based on a person's actual experiences and represents how he or she really or actually sees himself or herself. On the other hand, the ideal self is the self based on one's hopes and wishes. It reflects how one likes to see himself or herself to be. Now let us know the difference between real self and ideal self. In psychology, the real self and the ideal self are terms used to describe personality domains. The real self is who we actually are. It is how we think, how we feel, look, and act. The real self can be seen by others, but because we have no way of truly knowing how the others view us, the real self is our self-image. The ideal self, on the other hand, is how we want to be. It is an idealized image that we have developed over time, based on what we have learned and experienced. The ideal self could include components of what our parents have taught us, what we admire in others, what our society promotes, and what we think is in our best interest. So that is it for lesson number 1. Now let us move on lesson number 2, discrepancy and self-concept. Self-discrepancy theory, a theory proposed by Huygens in the year 1989, describes how individuals are likely to experience discomfort when they are holding conflicting or incompatible beliefs about themselves. Rogers, in the year 1953, states that there is usually a contradiction or discrepancy between the real self and ideal self. This difference may result in discomfort and personality problems, which can be resolved by paying more attention to one's actual experiences, working more at positive experiences, and paying less to expectations of others. Now, according to Liebert and Spiegler, in the year 1994, positive regard is believed to be important for the healthy development of one's self-concept and for successful interpersonal relationships. Positive regard includes love, sympathy, warmth, acceptance, and respect which people crave from family, friends, and other significant people. There are two types of positive regard, conditional positive regard and unconditional positive regard. Conditional positive regard refers to positive regard received as a result of acceptable behavior or living up to the expectations and standard of others. For example, a teacher may reward students for passing the test. On the other hand, unconditional positive regard refers to the love and acceptance received by a person regardless of who he or she is or what he or she does. For instance, parents may still love and respect their child even if the child flunks an exam. The development of self-concept starts from the home. You will soon become parents. Thus, it is very important that you provide your children with the environment and opportunities that will enable them to develop good self-concepts. So that is it for lesson number 2. Now let's move forward to lesson number 3, entitled Self-Esteem. Self-esteem is your opinion of yourself. People with healthy self-esteem like themselves and value their achievements. While everyone lacks confidence occasionally, people with low self-esteem feel unhappy or unsatisfied with themselves most of the time. This can be remedied, but it takes attention and daily practice to boost self-esteem. According to Tafforidi and Swan in the year 1995, our self-esteem is determined by many factors, including how well we view our own performance and appearance and how satisfied we are with our relationship with other people. Personality and social development refers to how a person's sense of self-identity, relationship with others, and skills necessary for social interactions evolve. Personal or self-identity explains how people describe themselves in terms of values, goals, traits, and perceptions unique to them. It is closely related to self-esteem, or how much people value themselves and their worth as persons. Self-esteem is the level of importance attributed to oneself and one's abilities. In many ways, self-esteem relates to a person's attractiveness and social competence. Now we are up for the last lesson, lesson number 4, self-actualization. Self-actualization, also referred to as self-realization or self-cultivation, can be described as the complete realization of one's potential as manifest in peak experiences, which involve the full development of one's abilities and appreciation for life. That's according to Maslow in 1962. Maslow also added that generally, the state of self-actualization is viewed as obtainable only after one's fundamental needs for survival, safety, love, and self-esteem are met. Now, let's take a look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. As you can see, the first stage is the psychological needs: the air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing, and reproduction. It is the basic needs of a human being. The second stage is safety needs, which are the personal security, employment, resources, health, and property. The third stage is the love and belongingness, in which it is the stage where we look for friendship, intimacy, family, and sense of connection. The fourth stage is self-esteem or esteem. It is where we look for respect, self-esteem, status, recognition, strength, and freedom. The fifth and the last stage is the self-actualization. It is where we have the desire to become the most that one can be. In addition, some of the negative aspects of the self are negative feelings, relationship problems, fear of trying, perfectionism, fear of judgment, low resilience, lack of self-care, self-harming behaviors, and etc. There are also ways to enhance self-image. Take a self-image inventory, make a list of your positive qualities, ask significant others to describe your positive qualities, define personal goals and objectives that are reasonable and measurable, identify and explore the impact of childhood labels, refrain from comparing yourself to others, develop your strength, learn to love yourself. Give positive affirmations, remember that you are unique, and remember how far you have come. And that is it. I hope you have learned something from the video. Thanks for watching.